Okay, so welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So today we have Tanvi, who did her masters from King's College London, and we'll be knowing about her journey from Delhi to London. So welcome Tanvi.
Hi, thank you for having me over.
So Tanvi, when was the very first time you thought that maybe something like abroad exists?
So basically, my family is into a lot of traveling, and since I was a kid, we have been traveling like all around the world. And this is something that has always, excited me, and I was always very fascinated by the life abroad and how people live their lives and their lifestyle. I always used to compare that how is it so different from India, and it just felt like people are so free, people are doing whatever they want to do, going to the parks, just chilling at the park, doing nothing. So I was always fantasize about that kind of lifestyle. So it was just a thing that I always wanted to experience it for myself, like being alone in a foreign country. So that's how it got into the picture.
Sure, sure. And how many countries, colleges, and courses you applied to when you are planning this?
So I just applied in the UK, and I applied to three universities. I was very targeted about my universities in the country. I applied to UK because I wanted to do a 1 year program, and UK just felt closer to home. Like I did not want to go to the US because it's too far and the time difference. And three universities because I did not wanted to go to average universities. So I was focused that I want to get into this particular university. So yeah.
And you got offer from all three or one of them?
I got offer from two of those, King's College London and Bath, and I got rejected by Manchester University, which was my first option. So I did not make it to Manchester, but I think I had better options available.
Yeah, it was good that you came to London then.
Yeah, and I think King's had been a better option.
Sure, sure, sure. And after getting this college selected, you had to go through this visa process and accommodation, etc. How was your visa process?
So actually, I applied for my application all by myself. So I used to research like how to go about it, how to go about the stuff. So regarding the visa process, since I was a little late to the admission process, I had to like rush for the documents and everything. But I figured it out. So I had a document checklist, which I went through, like what all documents were required for the visa process. And then I had to apply for the premium service so that I could get my visa on time. And yeah, it was, I think once you have your documents figured out, there is nothing like, it's not a big deal. So you can also do it by your own self. You just need to figure out what all documents need to be there, prepare well in advance, and then you can just go ahead with it.
Sure, sure. And what about accommodation? Where did you book it from, and how was the process?
So accommodation also I booked it myself. So I knew people in London, and I contacted them to get advice on the areas and other specifications like which areas are safe to live and all of that. And I applied through the accommodation website itself. So I was living in a private student accommodation, and I went to their website and booked the accommodation themselves. They have like private viewings, so like they give you video tours of the accommodation, the rooms, and then you can choose your room accordingly, and according to your budget, you can just go ahead with the room you prefer.
Sure, sure. And once you got this accommodation done, you had to like do your flights and all. So were you like in a group that traveled together, or you traveled alone this time?
So there was this group that was made after we got admission into King's College. So it was a group for all the Indian students that were going to King's College London. And I just started talking to those people. I started connecting with them and made some friends. So we, three or four people, we booked it together. But like We booked it together, but they were coming from different places. So we decided to go from Delhi together, and then we booked our tickets.
Okay, okay. Which airline did you book finally?
We booked Vistara, and I think Vistara was no, sorry. We booked Virgin Atlantic because that gave like a better allowance, weight allowance for the students.
This was like a direct flight or there was stopover?
This was a direct flight.
Okay, okay, sure. And this was your first trip to London or you have been to London before also?
I had been to London before, but I was there when I was a kid, so I would consider it as my first time.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. And once you landed in London, any surprises, any shocks that you received? Like what were the things that grabbed your
So
attention?
yeah. So basically, when I went to London, it was during the COVID time. Like the COVID was still there. So there was a whole policy of isolation and everything. So we had to isolate ourselves for a week. And this was also the first time going away from home, living in a foreign country. So that was a little difficult because I was already, very nervous being outside alone. And this was also my first time being alone. So I was a little nervous and scared about that part. But gradually, I think it got better. I think the best thing that helps you is to just go out, meet people, and just connect with people. The more people you are connected to, the better you are able to adapt to the whole system. So that
Yes.
is something that helped for me. Yeah.
So you were a good networker before only, or you were forced to become a good networker after you went there?
I think so. I have a background of psychology, and I've always been interested in like being around people, talking to people. I was not a big social person, I would say, but I think London helped me become one. So I would just go to people, enjoy talking to them. I would ask them for advice because most of my experiences came out of other people's advices. So I used to ask them, how is this experience like? What should I do? What should my motive be? And how should I go ahead with it? So that's how I started connecting with people. And those connections, like literally, even now, those connections are there in my life and they are helping me now with my career. So I think I would always suggest students to just go out there and you might feel a little hesitant to talk to people, but it's just a matter of 2 seconds. That's it. And then you're good to go.
So did you sometimes made a excuse like that, that there was no need of an advice, but you just wanted to talk to them? That's why you deliberately made a question and approached them.
Could be like you can literally ask anything to anyone. I don't think there's any harm about that. And if you're talking to people who have already been there, like who've already experienced what you're experiencing currently, then it's just easier for you to also like better understand them and navigate your journey alongside. So I think it's not a harm. You can just even ask them for like where do I go for coffee, and that's it.
What's the time?
Yeah.
Or how do I go
Exactly.
this way, that way, even though you know the
Just,
way.
just, just be a foreigner in that country.
Yeah, it's also a practice of your accent maybe at times, because you want to maybe exchange the accent and you want to try to understand each other. So asking, making all these excuses and asking them and talking to them can actually improve your communication skill also.
No, I think regarding the accent, now that you've mentioned, a lot of people think that people who study abroad and they come back and they come back with an accent. I would just like to address that it's not that they come back with an accent. It's just that once they are talking to people out there, it just comes very naturally because if you speak in your Indian accent, there are times they don't understand it. So you have to adapt to their accent to make them understand. And this is something that you develop naturally. So it's not like, they are just show offing something or it's just natural.
Yeah, it's the change that happens unconsciously.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, sure. And you had to also adjust to this cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc. So were you used to it? Was it something new? How was the transition for you?
It was completely new to me. This is something that I had never done in my life. And I think most of my hesitation or nervousness was about this aspect. Because I was like, here I live such a luxury life. There are people who are helping me out. I have people to feed me, and I literally don't have to do anything here. But this is also something that has been the biggest blessing as well. So this is something that I learned there itself. I just knew how to prepare one dish, and I just tried, searching on YouTube. Then there were friends that helped me out, and now I would like to proudly announce that I can cook anything. So I think if you start learning the basics, you don't need to be like well equipped with it. You don't need to be a professional at it. You just figure out, like, watch videos and just know the basic know-hows, and then once you go there, you'll eventually learn everything. So regarding the laundry also, since like I went to London and it's a cold place, so we did not used to do laundry that often, like maybe once in a week. And since like we were paying for the laundry every time we were doing it, we would also try to take up a huge bunch of clothes together. So that's how we used to do it.
Sure, sure. Any part-time job internships you did while at KCL?
Yeah, so I did a part-time job at King's College itself. I was the marketing ambassador there. So I used to promote King's College London amongst other students. And other than that, I used to do stints. So stints were like 1 hour, 2 hour jobs that you could choose for the day. So there was no like particular job. You could just go to the app and select whatever you or whatever options you have. So you can just choose for yourself, like if you want to walk a dog someday and get paid for it. I don't think there's anything better than that. So I used to do such kind of jobs.
Sure, sure. And what were the few key differences in the way people are taught the education system of UK versus India?
I think there's a whole lot of difference, because here, like, I wouldn't say that education in India is bad. Education in India is, I think, very well. But the fact is that the system is very different. So, the learning system, like here, you would have a certain set of questions and a certain set of answers that are correct to those questions. Outside, there are no bookish answers, or there is nothing that you can rote learn and just vomit it on the paper. So you need to actually think whatever the question is. So it's an essay format. So basically you are required to write essays, and these are most likely opinion based questions or like open ended questions. So they ask you to explore whatever you've learned throughout your program and then use it practically. So I think that's a big difference. And this is the reason why you cannot escape from studying. So you will have to study your programs, you will have to think whatever you're writing. So that's a big difference.
Sure, sure. What about assignments? Did you find it hard to do initially, or it was okay, okay?
I think I found it hard to do because I was not well equipped with the kind of language or the set of key learnings that they were expecting from us. So, what I did for myself was I connected with my alumni from LinkedIn, and I used to ask them for advice. I used to ask them to share their assignments with me so that I can better understand how to go about it. And I use them as my models and then try to reiterate the same with me.
Sure, sure. What about the winter? Like, did you feel a bit depressed in this sunrise sunset times at
Yeah,
times?
this is one thing that needs to be spoken about. London and UK in general can be very gloomy during the winters. There is no sun, and you literally crave for sun. You will sit at your window waiting for the sun to come, and then you just go out. So yes, it is depressing and it is very cold, but it is just a part of it. So you can
That's when
enjoy the
we,
Christmas lights
yeah,
later in the night. So that
that's
makes
when
up for it.
we realize the greatness of the sun, maybe, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So coming to the last question now, what advice would you give to younger yourself, people like you who are aspiring few years behind, let's say?
As I mentioned before, I think I would give like two advices mostly. I would say never plan your journey, because this is something that has happened with me. I was applying for jobs there in UK and I had got my work visa, but then due to some family emergency, I had to come back home and couldn't do the jobs abroad. But now, like, I am a founder of my own startup, so I think life had better plans for me. So I just feel like sometimes students are very scared to, pinpoint their whole journey and just decide what they want to do, where they want to go. I would just say that, take your time, just let life happen to you. And it's not to sound like filmy or anything, but uh, at times no planning is also something that leads you to better opportunities. So that is something that worked for me. You just need to be focused and determined about what you want to do. You just need to be clear about it, and the whole process will eventually happen on your own. And the second and the most and the best advice that I would love to give to students is that you should network. I think most of my journey at King's College London wouldn't have been the same had I not networked with people. I was very active throughout my journey. I was a student rep at my college. I was a member of the faculty education committee for the postgraduates, and I was the only postgraduate member in that. And I was also side by side working with King's, networking with people at King's. And there is also a university career panel for every university. So I would also advise you to be in touch with them. They help you throughout the job process. They help you, prepare your CV and everything. So networking is the key.
Sure, sure. Any recommendation on usage of LinkedIn for the youngsters?
I cannot emphasize on the importance of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your go to. You have to be there on LinkedIn. You have to connect with your alumni. You have to connect with your faculty, every person that you know and would like to know. And I think if you use it to your best potential, it can offer you great opportunities. So just connect, connect, connect in, like, in person or online, offline, everywhere.
Sure, sure. I advise usually people that, spend at least 1 hour on LinkedIn, like pretty much every day.
Exactly, exactly.
Sure, sure. So thank you, Tanvi, for your advice and your journey sharing, etc. We hope our audience would have learned something and they might connect with you on LinkedIn later once we post this on
Sure.
YouTube and LinkedIn. So thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.